has. Tyler Melito is now gone off to Syracuse University, but he's back with us now, spending a little time with us in the summer. We couldn't be happier to have him.
Well, number 21 Rutgers, they come out with the win over Syracuse, 79-69. You are listening to the Double Overtime here on WAER. Tyler Melito.
Now by women's ice hockey beat reporter Tyler Melito.
Tyler Melito.
Hello, I am Tyler Melito with your sports update.
Carry it on. I'm Tyler Melito.
Let's keep it moving right along here with more state tournament action, girls lacrosse, and for that we bring in Tyler Melito.
Well, we have finally arrived. I'm Tyler Melito.
Live from the Dome is our reporter Tyler Melito.
Back here on the Double Overtime, I'm Matt Bonaparte with Johnny Gadamowicz, and now we are joined by our reporter who is at the Dome. It's Tyler Melito.
And now, your Citrus TV Sports Report.
Hello, I'm Tyler Melito with your sports update. Following Saturday's win against Boston College 75-67, Syracuse men's basketball moved to 12-6 on the year. Now, there has been a lot of talk as of late amongst fans of the Orange to make a switch in the starting lineup, swapping sophomore Joe Girard in favor of freshman Kadari Richmond. But after a 16.6 rebound performance, it appears that Girard has secured his spot in the starting lineup for the time being. Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim gave his point guard some praise for doing just what the team needed of him.
One of the worst offensive halves he's had this year, and Joe just carried us. He just put us on his shoulders and carried us in the first half. He was tremendous. In the second half, he looked for people, got them the ball, and really, didn't look to score because we were trying to get it inside and get to the foul line. And he had a tremendous game.
Syracuse gets back to action tomorrow against Louisville in Louisville at 6:30 p.m. In women's basketball, it is another change of plans. Tomorrow's game between Syracuse and Notre Dame in South Bend has been postponed. The late change comes after a positive COVID-19 test was reported within the Irish program. This is the second consecutive game the Orange will have to reschedule. Third-ranked Louisville had to postpone last Sunday due to COVID-19 issues. SU returns to the floor this Sunday at Virginia Tech. Tip-off for that one is set for noon. Staying on the hardwood, the Nets continue their West Coast road trip tonight against the Suns. After last Tuesday's double-digit loss to Detroit, Brooklyn is heating up. It has won 3 in a row, including 2 so far on their West Coast road trip. Brooklyn is already without Kevin Durant with a hamstring injury, and the Nets will now be missing point guard Kyrie Irving with lower back tightness. Brooklyn and Phoenix are the nightcap tonight, tipping off at 10:30 on TNT. And on the ice, it is a big night for New York fans in hockey. Let's start out in Buffalo, where the Sabres play host to the Islanders. These two saw each other yesterday. New York defeated Buffalo in that one 3-1. The Sabres will try to flip the script at 7 o'clock. And down in the Garden, the Devils cross the Hudson to take on the Rangers. Jersey has just played 9 games this season compared to New York's 13 because of COVID issues on their team. Back in January, the Devils beat the Rangers in MSG 4-3. Face-off for that one is also at 7 o'clock. So without further ado, let's make some straight cash, homie. Shout out Randy Moss. UCLA is just the second team ever to make the Final Four after playing in the first 4, the first being VCU in 2010-2011. Ironically, both teams were 11 seeds. VCU's run came to an end against an 8 seed in Butler, 70-62. The Bruins, who have a much taller task than the Rams did a decade ago, they will take on the top team in college basketball all season in Gonzaga. With a spread at minus 14.5 and $115, minus 115. Give me $10 on the Zags for covering. 7 times all season did the Zags win by 14 points or fewer. And all their West Coast Conference games and their NCAA tournament games, they have won by more than 14. Speaking of the winning margin, I'm also going to put a nice $10 bet on the Zags, winning by 17 to 20 points at plus 500. A high-risk bet because the expectation is the Bruins will get blown out of proportion, but also a very high reward if the Bruins can hang around. Average margin of victory for the Zags in their 2 West Coast Conference tournament games and 3 out of their NCAA tournament games, excluding the first-round game against Norfolk State, is 17.5. How about a bet on UCLA? Better yet, how about a parlay? Johnny Juzang transferred from Kentucky to UCLA after the 2019-2020 season, and it appears he had made the right choice. He has led the team in scoring at 15.5, while also shooting 42.9% from the field and 90% from the free throw line. Pretty darn good if I say so myself. So here's the parlay. Bet $10 to win $620 at plus 6,200. Juzang, 25 or more points. He had 2 25-plus point games in the NCAA tournament so far. And he also needs 4 or more assists and 8 or more rebounds. Those last two stats are a little concerning in terms of the parlay, as he just has 4 assists all tournament and 18 total rebounds. But hey, it's the Final Four. Go big or go home, am I right? I don't know many people who would have thought that Houston would be one of the last 4 teams remaining when the college basketball season started, but here we are. After narrowly beating Rutgers in the round of 32, the Cougars cruised past Syracuse in the Sweet 16, winning by 16, then looked really solid against Oregon State in the Elite Eight, despite winning just by 6. Baylor has been just a notch below Gonzaga all season long and has coasted to the Final Four. After beating Wisconsin in the round of 32, the Bears took on a depleted Villanova team in the Sweet 16. Then an Arkansas team in the Elite Eight that kind of reminds me of someone on the hit CBS show Survivor that makes it all the way to the final 6 or 7. You're like, how? They've barely done anything all game. But Bears have been solid. Sick 'em Bears. With Defensive Player of the Year in Davion Mitchell, look for him to be tasked with slowing down Quinn and Grimes for Houston. First bet I have, though, is against the Bears. I'm going with Houston money line. Plus 185, that is an easy bet right there. $10, throw it on it. This is going to be a close game, so not a heavy wager. A bet that I will put a little bit more money on is the score of the game. I'm going to put $15 on the total combined score of the two teams being over 137, which is currently at plus 115. Not going to give you much of a major win. Odds that it will hit are high. These two teams are averaging a combined 144.5 points per game during the tournament, which in theory would help this bet hit even more. I'm also going to do a nice $15 parlay on Quinn and Grimes, the leading guy for Houston, despite having Mitchell all over him presumably. At plus 1350, this is a low-risk, high-reward gamble. I'm betting that he has 25 plus points, something he did 5 times this season. He also needs to have 7 or more three-pointers, something he did just once all season. Then to top it all off, a Houston win, something they did 28 times this year. This is no better time than to have a career game in the Final Four. So I'm going to go big on Grimes, $15 bet to possibly win $202.50. I will take that all day long. Final parlay, plus 164, $10 on Masio Teague, 20 plus points and 3 plus three-pointers, something he did 5 times this season. To win $16.40, of all my parlays, this is the one that will most likely hit. Hello, I am Tyler Melito with your sports update. Syracuse men's basketball had their season come to an end on Saturday with a 62-46 loss to Houston. In postgame, head coach Jim Boeheim had this to say.
Being able to transfer and play right away means if you have any issue at all, any issue, you're going to leave. Those guys would never have left before, but now they're going to. We'll have guys leave, and it's what's going to happen.
Well, coach was right. In the days since the loss, star forward Quincy Guerrier has already said that he will go through the NBA draft process and possibly go pro. Then you have the 3 members of SU's roster who are reportedly entering their names in the transfer portal, those being freshman point guard Kadari Richmond, junior fan favorite Robert Braswell, and redshirt freshman center John Bolajak. There's also been a since-deleted tweet from freshman big man Frank Anselm, which read, quote, "With more to come, the dominoes have begun to fall." Who are these dominoes? No one seems to know. But after 3 contributors from last year's team in Bryson Godine, Jalen Carey, and Howard Washington all transferred out of the program, it seems that 2021 will see a lot of new faces donning the orange uniform. And Jim Boeheim is not the only hoops coach who is going to have to deal with players potentially transferring. Over the last few days, since SU's women's team lost to UConn in the second round of round of 32, of the NCAA tournament, 8 players have entered their names into the transfer portal, 5 of which are players who played in that game against the Huskies, and Emily Angsler, Kiara Lewis, Digna Stratmana, Maeva Jalbi-Tabdi, and Amaya Finkley.
After being unable to pull out the victory against Duke last week down in Durham in what was a very close game, Syracuse men's lacrosse had an opportunity to pick up their second ACC win of the season today inside the Dome against number 9 Notre Dame. And despite a strong start from the Orange going out to a 5-2 lead after the first quarter, the Irish just did not give up and fought until the very end. That's why they say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Ultimately being able to pull out the victory 18-11. And the star of the show was Pat Cavanaugh, was the team's leading assist getter entering today. He had 5 as well, but he also had 4 goals, so 9 total points. Expect him to be on the Tewaaraton watch list after today. And post-game, that is all anyone could talk about.
That's as good as I've seen him play. He was dodging. He beat us a few times off of dodges. He obviously finds the open man. He's been their quarterback all year. No secret coming in. For him to have that kind of production, that's with all those possessions, is going to be hard for us to beat him today.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. He's a good player. He plays a lot like his older brother. He's a tough kid. And yeah, he played really well today. Good.
And he just outworked us, so it was pretty simple. We had to come better prepared for him.
Despite the loss, Syracuse cannot fret on what went wrong against Notre Dame, as they will have a quick turnaround taking on Albany next week on Thursday, April 8th at 5 p.m. inside the Carrier Dome. Reporting from outside the Carrier Dome, I'm Tyler Melito, Citrus TV.
Cameron, pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you here. And for Syracuse, this is a weekend that they absolutely needed. Felt like everything went right for everybody, but star of the show, got to be Jessica DiGirolamo. Not for what most people would think of her for.
No, not at all. Jessica DiGirolamo plays defense, but it was her offense that was phenomenal this weekend. And it must have been whatever was in the water in Missouri, might have been her because she turned 22 this weekend, but 5 goals, 6 total points, increasing her month of February total to 7 goals, 8 total points. And clearly, on the offensive end, when she makes an impact in her career, Syracuse thrives. In games that she has at least 1 point during her career, Syracuse is 31, 14, and 1. So I am willing to argue that she is more impactful on the offensive end than defensive end, and she's pretty darn good on the defensive end.
Well, heck of a birthday week for her. Yeah. Came in with 6 points, left with 12. That's how you do it. Yeah. The offense took a lot of the attention, but on the other end, Lindenwood found life much tougher thanks to a bounce-back week from Allison Small.
Yeah, you mentioned that bounce-back week. She got pulled in the first game against Mercyhurst a couple weeks ago, and then against Lindenwood. 4 goals allowed over the entire series, 65 total saves, and a save percentage of 93.8, as you see on the screen. And that's been the story all season long. There were a lot of talks about whether or not she can handle a full-time starting job in net, because she split time last year with Adi Cohen and struggled at times last year. But she's been phenomenal all season long. 428 saves, 7th most in the country, and then save percentage, 93.2 on the year. That is 18th in the country. You take out all the players that have played fewer than 10 games, Small's played 15, she ranks 8th in that category. And she also surpassed the 1,000 save mark for her career, 6th SU goalie ever to do so. So just an overall phenomenal weekend for what is a brick wall in net for Syracuse.
You could say she came up big, and that's something you've definitely heard before. The Orange are sitting at 6-6-1 in the CHA right now. There's 5 games left before the tournament. What does a weekend sweep like this do for the team's momentum heading forward?
Well, a 3-game winning streak is going to do anything for you in terms of a season. But Syracuse, they've had a lot of heartbreak this season. 6 games out of their 8 losses have been by 1 goal. 6 total games this season out of their 15, the Orange have either led or were tied entering the 3rd period and did not win. So those are going to be huge momentum killers. So the fact they were able to get 3 wins in a row like this late in the season is huge. They got the 2 games against LIU this weekend, although not a CHA opponent, still 2 more opportunities to get games, and then an RIT game next Tuesday, February 23rd. And the Orange have beat RIT twice. If they can get 3 more straight wins, have 6 going into that final series against Robert Morris, a team that has been really good this season, Syracuse can have a lot of momentum and really start picking things up for the CHA tournament in early March.
Definitely something to keep your eye on, and you can do that by following Tyler on Twitter, @MelitoTyler, to stay up to date on all the latest news and scores from the team. Tyler, thanks again for joining us.
Cameron, thanks for having me. After what was an exciting game last week against Virginia here inside the Carrier Dome, Syracuse men's lacrosse was able to make it 2 wins in a row, this time against the Catamounts of Vermont. The Orange were able to pull out the victory 17-13, and it was the offensive side of the ball that really got this team going. Owen Hiltz had 4 goals. Chase Scanlon had a hat trick. But the star of the show, Stephen Rafis. 2 goals, 6 assists, 90 career assists. He now moves into sole possession of 10th place in all-time assists in Syracuse lacrosse history. And Coach John Jesko spoke about Rafis and his performance post-game, and also what he brings to this team as a leader.
Well, he voted one of the captains this year, so that tells you what the team thinks of him out and off the field. And he'd been seeing the field really well. He quick to understand offenses, and as a result, I think he knows where people are going to be open when he does have the ball in his stick. And there were some nice offensive plays today, and definitely his leadership on the field.
Today marked the first time in over a year that fans were able to see a game inside the Dome. Coach Jesko said
that it was nice to have him back, that the team really fed off of them, and he hopes to see many more fans at games down the road this season. Next opportunities for fans to see the team play here on Ernie Davis Legends Field will be Friday, March 12th at 1 p.m. against Stony Brook. Reporting inside the Dome, Tyler Melito, Citrus TV.
Hola, soy Tyler Melito y esta es tu actualización deportiva. El lacrosse femenino de Syracuse quedó absolutamente destruido contra Carolina del Norte el fin de semana pasado, perdiendo 17-6. Hoy, la naranja tuvieron la oportunidad de volver a la columna de victorias contra Georgetown. Finalmente fueron capaces de sacar la victoria, ganando 15-10. Syracuse tocará Virginia el sábado dentro del domo. La semana pasada se informó que Kadari Richmond, entre otros jugadores del equipo de baloncesto masculino de Syracuse, iba a ser transferido fuera del programa. Hoy se hizo oficial que Richmond no va a jugar con la Orange la próxima temporada, sino que va a usar azul. El nativo de Brooklyn se traslada a Seton Hall para jugar para los Piratas. Richmond fue un valioso miembro del equipo de Syracuse la temporada pasada, especialmente durante su carrera del torneo NCAA, pero se dejó claro que todavía lo sería menos importante que Joe Girard, según Jim Boeheim. El primer mayor de golf de temporada 2021 está aquí. Los Maestros se jugará este fin de semana. Después de ganar en noviembre, el campeón defensor Dustin Johnson tratará de ganar su tercer campeonato mayor de su carrera. Tiger Woods no jugará esta semana, ya que todavía se está recuperando de su accidente de coche a finales de febrero. Una golfista a tener cuidado para esta semana, Jordan Spieth. Después de ganar hace una semana, el campeón de 2015 está listo para volver a su campeonato principal. ¿Hay algo de béisbol para jugar esta noche? Los Yankees, después de vencer a los Orioles anoche, buscan hacerlo 2-1 fila en el Bronx. Los Mets, por otro lado, buscan rebotar después de perder a los Phillies en su primer juego de la temporada anoche. Ese juego se jugará en Filadelfia. Próximamente, Jared Johnson con más sobre la clima.